BLISS LAND, glimpses of cosmic consciousness. The happiest moments of our lives, I suggested, was when we lose our sense of self, our sense of isolation, our contractedness. When my youngest son, Kelly, was 4, he used to ask the most intriguing and surprisingly mature philosophical questions. The one query, however, that made me think the deepest, and the one that he cared most about, concerned death and the afterlife. Kelly wanted to know what happened when we died. I had a number of options before me on how to respond. There was the materialist response, which at first hearing sounds the harshest. You become fertilizer. Then there is the more cliched reply, usually invoked by those belonging to Christianity or Islam, good boys go to heaven or paradise. Of course, there is always the most honest rejoinder, nobody actually knows. However, I didn't choose any of those answers. Instead, I said, we all go to BLISS LAND. Kelly looked at me a bit incredulous, most likely because he didn't actually know what the term bliss actually meant. I then went on to explain my position. The happiest moments of our lives, I suggested, was when we lose our sense of self, our sense of isolation, our contractedness. I used surfing as my guiding metaphor to provide a more concrete illustration to my young son, who was also a budding waterman. Whenever I catch a good wave surfing or body surfing, I lose myself in the moment. I become keenly aware of the drop, the bottom turn, the throwing lip, and the projective line down at the shoulder. Without thinking, I became the process itself, and time slows down. And if I am lucky, I get to tuck into a tube and see a cascading curtain of water envelop around me. It may last but 2 or 3 seconds, but because my awareness is right there and locked into the subtlest of blue and green textures and the rushing sound of vacuuming water, it has a timelessness to it. Kelly looks up at me, realizing that I got lost in my storytelling as I relived the many waves I have caught in my life. But he persists. I don't get it, Papa. I then tried a different route. Kelly, when were you happiest? It took him a few moments of reflection, and he exclaimed, when we went to Hawaii this summer. What was it about that trip that you remember? Ah, Kelly recalled, that's easy. It was when I saw the blue water for the first time and smelled the ocean. It was exhilarating. I was overwhelmed by the beauty of it. My son's reminiscence made me think of that famous episode in the life of the visionary mystic saint, Sri Ramakrishna, who as a young Indian boy falls into a state of ecstasy while walking in a village field in Bengal, India, during the mid-part of the 19th century, when all of a sudden he sees a black rain cloud and then majestically a flock of white cranes flying in the sky. The juxtaposition of the two opposite colors was overwhelmingly beautiful. The very sight sent him into samadhi, divine ecstasy, and he fell unconscious. While my surfing adventures and Kelly's wonder at Waikiki gorgeous setting is not the same as Ramakrishna's samadhi, they do share something fundamental in common. Beauty and our focused attention can awaken in us something utterly profound. It can be stated very simply, even if it sounds like a Zen koan. We are happiest when we are not ourselves. That is, we feel the bliss of our existence when we are not trapped in our own narcissism. While many of us have had nature-related bliss moments, from surfing to mountain climbing to secluded walks in the forest, where we had ecstatic occasions, it may be too long a stretch to argue that these are on par with what mystics of time immemorial have described. Yet, I don't think the expansion of consciousness, cosmic or otherwise, is an either-or proposition, but rather represents a continuum, and that we do a disservice by collapsing such a spectrum of possibilities by prematurely categorizing them into prepackaged theological overlays. They are part and parcel of what it is like to be a human being. How we ultimately interpret them, neurologically or religiously, is secondary to the value of the experiences themselves and what the wider aspects they offer us about our own self-reflective awareness. Imagine that you are a bubble floating on the surface of an infinite ocean, but that most of your life all you experience is the upper and outer reaches of that bubble. You never probe the depths from which you arise, which is a limitless expanse of the water that sustains you. If for an instant you get a glimpse of that fathomless bottom, you would experience an unimagined expansion of being. It would have a cosmic dimension to it, and your consciousness would be in BLISS LAND.